You are now looking at our Facebook Messenger group chat. Now, I have created this group chat probably about 2 years ago. It used to be known 2021 Corazon Care Management. So every year, I usually change the year, of course. So this is what's been happening. So about I don't know how many years ago, back when Neri and her daughter, si Luisa, was still taking good care of Nanay, there was an incident that Luisa was just alone. I think Neri was upstairs doing her quarantine because that was the start of the quarantine of the pandemic, and she went for a day off. And then my rule is that when you come back, you have to quarantine for 15 days, and then after 15 days, you're gonna get tested for COVID. If you test negative, of course, so you come down and join Luisa, and then start working again. That's how it's been done. No one can come, no one can come close to Nanay. Otherwise, if you had not been tested for a negative result. So back then, when Luisa was just by herself, I think one day pinakain niya ng supo, and then another something salty in the food, and then all of a sudden, si Nanay, she started showing all the symptoms that there's something wrong with her, like those common symptoms, high blood pressure symptoms. And then it's a good thing that the last time I went home, I think it was in 2018 or 2019, I brought this with me. It's a blood pressure device, So immediately I told Luisa to take the blood pressure, and then it was so high. It was so high, like really scaringly high. So we immediately gave her a Catapress from the next door drugstore, generic. And then from then on, Dr. Dumlao, her daughter, prescribed Nanay to take Micardis every day. I think it was once a day, because her BP is really high. It's really getting really high. It was really alarming. So ever since then, every morning I would ask all day, whenever Nanay wakes up, to get her blood pressure. We do it 3 times. If we take the most common one, and then they also take the pulse or the oximetry meter. This is a new addition to all the gadgets that they have, and of course, they have to show me the sugar level. So every time they will say here mababa po ang BP, normal po sugar, at oxygen pulse. It's like every day we do this every day. The reason why we do that is that if the blood pressure is too low, okay, because it happened once now. Her blood pressure is low, but not dangerously low. So when that happens, I will ask them to give a little salt, to add a little salt in her food. Yung lalagyan ng konting asin, even the milk that she drinks, just a little drop of salt, so that would increase. I think that would I guess stabilize her blood pressure. Make it a little high again. If it is high naman, and that's when we make her take Micardis, and we also make sure that we give her food that are less salty. But Nanay, masyadong mariklamo, she will just complain, it's too matabang, it's too bland, so they would give her a little bit of salt. But that's what we do. We basically tinitimpla namin ng food intake every day to suit whatever readings we had here. So sa sugar naman, if the sugar is so high, we increase the insulin to a certain level. But so far that only happened siguro once or twice. I think it happened once during Neri and during Marilyn, the other yaya. So otherwise, she just get her regular insulin shot every day, regardless of the reading of her glucose. And then she also takes metformin. And then the reason why we're doing this also is that sometimes it's also low. Now, when her glucose level is so low, that's the time na binibigyan namin siya ng something sweet, like a piece of cake or a little bit of candy or maybe soft drinks, to, I guess, to increase her glucose level naman. That's how we do it. And then if it is high, then we don't serve her food that are rich with sugar, like, less rice, less carbohydrates. So every morning, this is what we do. Every morning, tinitimpla namin ang food ni Nanay. And so far, we've been doing it really good. Like, what Dr. Dumlao said, sabi niya nga, we've had a good run so far, and it's, we were able to control everything. Now, the thing is, if you don't eat food, if you don't eat a lot of food, then yung blood pressure mo is not going to spike. And the same thing with sugar. If you don't eat a lot of food, yung sugar level mo will still be the same. So the reason why I'm talking about this is that about two years ago, she started not eating and drinking well. Like every time she eats something, she would spit it out, dinudura, with food and drink. Now, when that happened, I think it was under Marilyn's watch. The new Yaya after Neri left, and Nanay lost almost half of her weight because she wasn't eating anymore. And there was also a problem with taking her medicine because she doesn't want to take her medicines anymore. Because it's not because she doesn't want to, it's not because she's not in the mood, it's the dementia. Her brain is not, her brain and probably her mouth and throat are not talking, like communicating well anymore. That's why she's not eating. It's part of the dementia. I know some kamag-anak will say, sabayan kumain para gumana ng pagkain. It's not that easy. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. You can tell her, like, tell her to eat and whatnot, pero it's the brain. Sometimes I would ask her why she's not eating, and then her answer would be, Gigi would ask her, bakit ayaw mong kumain, Nanay? And then Nanay will say, I don't know, hindi ko alam. So it's the brain. Her brain is already malfunctioning. So that happened. She lost half of her weight, and then when Gigi came back as a yaya, she went back to normal again. She started eating again, but not until about 2 months ago she started again not eating well. She would spit out everything, even water. Sometimes in one day, she would only eat one piece of watermelon, pakwan, or a piece of this or a piece of that. Sometimes she would take a bite and then spit it out. She would ask the yaya for her favorite food, pero pag binigay sa kanya, she's not eating it. So it's really the dementia. And this part of her not eating is actually part of the last stages of dementia. And that's why it's so important na pinag-usapan namin ito ng doctor niya na kailangan palagyan ko siya ng feeding tube sa my stomach niya. I'm gonna show you the details and drawings and the video of the PEG. It's called PEG, P-E-G. What it is that pag meron na siyang feeding tube sa stomach niya, and then merong days na she's not eating, meron kaming portal. Merong portal meaning merong entry sa kanyang stomach other than her mouth. So if she's not eating, we can feed her liquid food doon sa feeding tube niya. But if she has if she has the munchies, if she has the magana, and she can also eat using her mouth like regularly. So it's not because if we're going to put a feeding tube, she's just going to be fed using a feeding tube. No, it's not like that. Hindi ganon. Merong time na gusto niyang kumain sa bibig, sa bunganga, yes, sure. And then pag hindi kumain, doon gagamitin yung feeding tube. And especially with her medications, she's not taking the medications anymore. So having that PEG, the feeding tube, would really make the yayas work a lot easier, and then Nanay will be able to take her medicine. That's what we're after. And of course, every morning they would post before lunch, and then they would also post after lunch. So I will check whether Nanay had eaten anything or not. And they also tell me, like this one, niluwa po ang kanin at ulam, humigop ng sabaw po, niluwa rin po. You see? What's that? According to here, pakuan lang po ang kinain. So she only ate watermelon. You know, niluwa ang kanin, ang ulam, humigop ng sabaw, pero niluwa din. It's the dementia, folks. It's the dementia. It's not like na wala na siyang gana kumain. I'm gonna end this video for now, and I'm gonna come back next time for a different one.